Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now let's welcome your host, founder, and CEO of Women Talk, brigittelessard-deyell.
Welcome back to the Women Talk Show, where women make their communities stronger, one story at a time. My name is brigittelessard-deyell, and I am founder and CEO of Women Talk. Today, we go from footwear to software. Sandy Connery is the co-founder of Namastream Software, Soulful MBA, and Connectable.Biz Software. After an amazing 20-year career in footwear, Sandy sold her million-dollar brick-and-mortar retail business and clinic and leaped from footwear to software. She talks about the unbelievable truth of launching her company and being told they needed a man on their team to appeal to startup funding investors, and how they turned it all down and did it their own way. Let's listen to Sandy's story.
I want to talk to you about a story of transition, a career that started in footwear and ended in software. And so my background formally, my education is a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and in gait analysis. And I started a business here in Calgary where I had 2 brick and mortar stores where we did gait analysis, custom orthotics, and a whole lot of footwear. And it was almost 20 years doing that business, and I loved it. But then one day I woke up and I no longer cared about the client's problems. I loved the people. I loved my staff. I liked talking to people and getting to know them, but I didn't care that their bunion hurt or their plantar fasciitis was killing them or whatever it may be. I no longer cared. And being in a clinical practice, you can't obviously operate that way. So I knew I needed to make a change. But I struggled so deeply with what to do because my identity was so wrapped up in who I was as a learned person, as my Bachelor of Science. Like, what else would I do if I didn't do podorthics, if I didn't do gait analysis? Because that's how I saw myself, because it was my degree. And so I actually became quite ill through this period because my body and the whole universe was telling me, like, you need to make a change, Sandy. So I decided to sell my shares. I finally did sell my shares to my partners, and I was out. I was free. And all I knew was that I wanted a career, a job that gave me freedom with my time. I no longer, as you know, Bridget, what it's like to be tied to a brick and mortar location, to staff, to inventory. I wanted the complete opposite of that. I wanted my days to be free. I wanted to work and I wanted to contribute to society and I wanted to make a difference, but I wanted to do it on my own terms. And I wanted to make lots of money. So I kind of looked at things and after a lot of podcasts, actually, decided that I was going to start a software company. And I took a 6-month program where I learned how to build a software company. There was over 600 people in it. There was not very many women in it, but I went into it with such determination that I was going to do this because I could just see that this software company was exactly the type of business I wanted to build next. And so during that 6 months, I did the research and I figured things out, and I actually built a software company with paying customers within 6 months. And it's called Connectable, and it still operates today. It's for professional networking groups. During that period of learning, I met another woman named Jenny, and she was in the same boat as me. She was a lawyer. I was not a lawyer. We're not in that boat, but we were moms of children, wanted a different life, wanted to live differently with more freedom. And she was building a software company for the similar reasons as I was. There were not very many women. And by the end of that 6 months, there was not many people who built software companies. She and I were 2 of them. And we bonded because we were women and because of our shared values and our shared visions. And so we spoke basically every day after that. We met at a live event. After that, we basically spoke every single day because we just needed someone to talk to about bootstrapping these software companies that we were independently building. And one day, she decided that she needed to rebuild her software because she started very simply and very basically, which is a smart way to start a business, but it was growing to the point where she needed to rebuild the entire system to move forward. And she needed money to do that. So she actually applied to a accelerator, a business accelerator in Seattle. And she was accepted on the condition that she had a co-founder. And that's when she asked me to join her. And so I did. It took me about 3 seconds to decide. And so we were now co-founders of a company called Namastream. And Namastream is software that allows people with any kind of expertise to teach online. So if you want to teach a course, or you want to teach a membership, or you want to do live streaming, you want to do coaching, this is the platform that you can use. And so I ran the company, and she spent 3 months in this business accelerator. And this business accelerator existed to take companies that had potential. So you were very, deeply vetted and chosen to be in the accelerator. They chose companies that had potential to raise money, to raise capital. And so she was immersed in this world while I ran the company here in Calgary. So she would go every day to these downtown offices and fully entered, bro culture. Like, the startup world is very male dominated. She was extremely uncomfortable in it. I talked to her every day, and there were so many days that she was just in tears with, like, what am I doing? What is this about? But it was still a period of intense growth and learning for us, because this is a whole other world. Like, all we knew was sitting at our dining room tables, talking to people and talking to our developers and building these companies. This other investment world was brand new to us. And the people at the accelerator taught her how to create a pitch deck, and taught her the legal side and the investment side and the corporate structure side of what to do when you take investment. And so she spent 3 months focused on this one PowerPoint presentation, the pitch deck, and talking to investors and angel investors and venture capitalists over and over and over again, and got torn down, got, rude comments, got, it was difficult, to say the least. It was a period of frustration and just these whole gamut of emotions of, like, what are we doing? But we need the money, like this sort of feeling of desperation that we need the money to do what we needed to do, but not wanting to play the game, not wanting to fall victim to the expectations of what we have to do and the way our company has to run to make the investors happy. So we basically decided to walk away from the money. So we did have the opportunity. We were what's called soft-circled. We had some female investors. We had no male investors that were interested in us, which was an interesting thing, because the females were somewhat sympathetic to other female entrepreneurs who are seeking investment. They know what it's like. So they listen a little bit more intently, I would say, have a little bit more sort of like, I will support you, sister kind of attitude, which we so appreciated. So we could have raised the money. It was there for our taking if we wanted to go down that route. However, the women that were interested, we had one lead investor who was very interested. And typically you start with one lead investor who puts in the most amount of money, and then others will follow. So many others will come in, and you will raise the amount that you declared that you wanted to raise. The problem was that her vision for the company was not what ours was. Like, we wanted to stay home with our kids, and we wanted to go out for a run in the middle of the afternoon, or we wanted to do whatever we wanted to do. And her vision was a downtown office in Seattle, with fax machines and a front receptionist. And it's like, that is the thing we were running from. So there's this pull, like, oh my God, it would be so amazing to have this money and this salary, but I don't want to run the company like that. Or I could run the company how we can run the company together, how we see it, how we envision it, but yet we're going to struggle with money, and we're going to have to think about this and do things a little bit differently. And so it was agonizing to decide what to do. And as I said, in the end, we decided to walk away because we didn't want to grow a company for growth's sake. And that's what the investors want. All they do is talk about growth. How many users do you have? What's the exit strategy? Are you going to do IPO, or are you going to sell it? and it just wasn't like, no, that's not what that's not why we're doing this. It's not, yes, we want to make money. We have no qualms about stating that we want to make money and a good salary and have a, multi-million-dollar business. But that is not the entire reason. That's not the only conversation we want to have. And that is the only conversation we were having with investors. So we, at one day I was down there, we were told that if we wanted investment, we had to diversify. We had to add a man to our team or we would not get funding. And I remember and Jenny was telling me these stories of comments like that, when I was in Calgary. I'm like, really? I can't, oh, Jenny, it can't be that bad. And then there I was being told that as two female founders and all female team, that we would not get funding because we didn't have a male. And if we wanted funding, we damn well better get a man on our team. And the anger that I can't even describe the words. Like, it gives me goosebumps now to even to say that story. And the thing was, I looked around the room and there was 10 other teams in this accelerator, all male, and they were not told to diversify. And it was like, okay. And then we became so angry and bitter towards the world and towards the system that we just said, no, we're not. We don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to do it a different way. And so we did walk away. It was about 2 months of this sort of flopping back and forth between the decisions and the investors kind of contacting, where are you guys at? Where are you guys at? And finally we just said no. And we just stopped returning the calls and the emails. And what we did was so cool, and I'm so proud of, is that we knew we had to make a certain amount of money to rebuild the software for this company to go forward. And so we ended up running 4 different webinars over, I think, 2 or 3 days. And we did some teaching to our potential users. And we pre-sold packages of 1 year and 2 years worth of software to people who were wanting to teach online, who wanted to take their expertise and move it online. So we raised exactly the amount of money that we needed to rebuild the entire platform from scratch by our user base. And it's just like, we're told and expected to operate this one way, but there are other ways we can do it. And I'm just so proud that we're women in technology that walked away from a pretty horrible situation, and we wouldn't have been happy running the company the way that we were going to have to please the investors. That we are, women, we founded these software companies. We are bootstrapping them, meaning we are working with the revenue that comes in. We don't have a giant line of credit. We don't have $1 million of investment, in the bank. We do it with the money that comes in. We are completely driven by our users. And so that is the story from footwear to software.
Hey ladies, have you heard about our Women Talk Convention and Expo yet? It's an enlightening and entertaining event aimed at women looking for a more meaningful life and deeper connections. And we will ignite the fire and give you momentum to explore new possibilities. It's 3 days, 17 speakers, 2 workshops, 2 parties, including the amazing comedian Shirley Best. All of this for only $197. And today I'm making the deal even sweeter for you. The first 20 women to go online and buy their tickets using coupon code PODCAST will receive $50 off. That's 17 speakers, 2 parties, 2 workshops, all of it for only $147. You can't miss an offer like that. Now go to womentalk.ca/convention and use coupon code PODCAST. And I promise this will be a weekend you will never forget. I am blown away. Wow. What an unbelievable story. Seriously, you had to have males on your team to get money. They actually said that to you.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be fair, the gentleman that told us that, he was part of the Accelerator that ran the Accelerator. So he was telling us this because he believed that that was what was going to get us funding.
And he's probably right.
He's right. And that's the sad part. So he wasn't saying you guys can't, he believed in us because he accepted Jenny into the Accelerator. So he could see the potential for Namastream, but he was saying, if you guys want to do this, then this is what you're going to have to do. And that, that just makes us angry. And
and we do things when we're angry.
We do things when we're angry. And, I'm not sorry that we went through it because
well, you learned a lot. Like it's never a loss.
No, it was frustrating. There was another female team there that was two females, and the CEO of that company, she was told she was too pretty to be a CEO.
It is just
from an investor.
Mind blowing. And it's an unbelievable story. I was last year, I was in Dallas for eWomen convention. It is huge. Thousands of people. eWomen has 500,000 members. And Sandra Yancey is just amazing. And, that day I made the decision. I will not do business with companies that do not have females. At any time I am capable, because that's something we have to do to change the world.
We do.
And I was in the middle of a big training course. It was $10,000. I was almost done, but I realized I did not see females on the stage. And it's like, I'm done. I am done. I will not support a company that does that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a really good point, Bridget, because we need to start thinking as consumers, we need to start thinking of the supply chain. And so we have options out there. And so we think about where our food comes from. We think about where our clothing is manufactured, perhaps. But I would love to make a call for people to start thinking about the digital products that they use. Who are the voices and the personalities behind that? We have competitors in this space who do software, but they are funded and they lose like $50,000, $60,000 a month because they don't care, because they have all this money backing, all male run. And it's so that's who we compete against. And we cannot compete on price against those companies. However, we can compete on service and who we are as a company and our values and our beliefs and who we support. And I think I would just love for people to start thinking about things like that you'll pay more for organic vegetables, but perhaps think about it in the digital space as well, that there are costs behind the scenes and that we should be looking at, color and gender and all of those things. And, it should be much more inclusive, right? So I think it is a really good point.
Yeah. And the world is shifting. That's one of the things that I do at Women Talk is I've been really teaching women, like we do business differently. We love, the guys do too, but I think their bottom line is money always. But there's more to it, so that's why I tell women, come and share your story, because once people, like you shared today, once people know what you have gone through, it's like, damn right, I'm going to support this lady because she rocks and it's awesome. And all these good old boys club that won't support women, like we have to end it. And the best way to do that is support the women that are making a difference like you have.
Right. So I think the men, and this is I'm speaking more of archetypes and not like men and women.
Yeah.
But the male way of doing business is profit driven and ego driven and like do whatever it takes to make the bottom line. And a female economy, if you will, is more like relationships and collaboration and communication. And I think you need both sides, right?
Oh, totally.
We totally need to make money and we need to be profitable, but I am not going to slash and burn everyone and everything to make the money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every man does business like that. I don't mean to.
And I agree with you. It's not even about being a man or a woman. It's masculine versus feminine energy. And we all have both.
Right.
And our world has been running on masculine energy for a very long time now. And I think we're at a pivoting point where people are, there might just be more to life than just the bottom line. So if it costs me $100 more, but I have great service and a great relationship, someone that will take care of my headaches when I need it, then that's worth money.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely a shift. Obviously, there's so many things happening in our culture right now.
Yeah.
And it's horrible, the stories that are coming out. However, I'm excited that the conversations are starting and that the honesty, is revealing what's actually been happening, and that people can sort of make better informed decisions, I think.
Well, and let's face it, I think before people weren't talking about it because nobody was trying. I just did a podcast of a lady who tried out for Little League Baseball in 1950.
Oh.
And she had to disguise herself as a boy to be able to play, because girls didn't play baseball. And they were shocked. There wasn't even a rule against girls playing baseball. It just wasn't done.
And
once she played, and then once she showed that it was possible and made the team, they actually put a rule in place named after her that girls were not allowed to play under any circumstance. And it lasted until 1974.
Wow.
But then it changed, and that's the thing. I think before we didn't hear of these stories because we just didn't go there.
Right.
No, and now the pioneers like you that are going there are going, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, you are amazing. I am so we've known each other for a little while. As a matter of fact, you were the very first people that helped me create Women Talk when it used to be a fundraiser, not a company.
Right. Yeah. I remember you coming into the shoe store at the time, right? When we first met. And I think that was the beginning of my, I don't think I can do this anymore, sort of couple year saga. So I was really grateful to be working with Women Talk and you at the time. It was just a great outlet and just something to focus on that wasn't my regular work. Loved it.
I know. And sometimes it's amazing because it makes you realize when you share stories, whether you listen to them or you're sharing them and you have all these women listening to you, it's so empowering, and it makes you realize I am not alone.
No. Yeah. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And it's just fascinating. I find it so inspiring to listen to other women speak.
I know. I love it. And it's so diverse. And every single time, people think they're alone, but they're not. Mm-hmm. There's always somebody that will relate to you, and then you can share ideas, and it's done differently. I'm on a mission right now to also tell women, share your story. Then they'll buy what you have. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you got there. Just like your story today. That was so fascinating. So if people want more information about what you do and how you could help them, how would that look? Where would they find you?
Sure. So you can go to Soulful.MBA. We have the software links there, Namastream. We have a podcast, and we also have some courses because we really are passionate about making women succeed on the internet with businesses on the internet. So we have software, the tool to teach online. We have the podcast that helps you. We have the discussions around women in business online, and then we have courses.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. And go online and find out about Sandy and her company, because I think as women, we need to support one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
If you have a burning desire to share your story with our audience, apply to be on our podcast. To apply and find a full list of our podcasts, go to www.womentalk.ca.